What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guests this week are North Carolina producer L'Orange and Nashville rapper, producer, and musician Namir Blade. We talked about our favorite Helper Ghost movies, our least favorite aspects of Quentin Tarantino's movies, the paradox of retiring rappers, black representation in the world of sci-fi concept albums, the similarities between David Lynch and Jim Jones, and the creative process behind their new album Imaginary Everything, out now via Mello Music Group. Come fuck with us.
Namir, did you do some prep for music? Because I've been moving and I feel very underprepared for this conversation.
Got you, bro.
And I really wanted to do better by you, man. I wanted to do better by you, Dylan. I really did. I asked ahead of time. I made sure to ask. I didn't make it happen. And that's pretty much the only thing I'm good at is making things happen.
This is gonna be as casual as can be, bro. Like this is like the stakes are not high. The stakes are like medium, like low, like medium low. You know, like they're like medium low. It's okay. I'm just
fun. How much do you value fun? Because fun, I think we can pull off.
Fun is 95% of this shit, bro.
All right, well then we can have some fun. Namir and I have fun.
All the time.
Now there's a little dog, and there's a dog behind. Oh,
look at that! Little bun sneaking in.
There's the culprit.
He's looking guilty.
That's where the frame went into. Oh my god!
That was hilarious. He just snuck in.
That's adorable. What's his name?
That's Bones.
Love it.
Yeah,
that's such a good.
No, that's all my dogs. I'm dedicated to having all my dogs having names that are like classic dog names that you never hear dogs called.
Right.
You know, like
are you gonna get a Fido?
Like Fido, Spot. You know,
yes.
Like you've never had a Fido in your life. No one actually names their dog Fido.
They only exist on TV.
Or something like that.
Yeah, for real.
Exactly.
Like Fido.
What's going on, man?
Who even thought of Fido? Like I never really knew what the frame of reference was for that.
I think I don't know actually. But my old dog was named Scraps. My Scraps, you know, my dog that I had for like 14 years. That's like original. Is like that.
Right.
People will come in and be like, Scraps, that's kind of a boring dog name. And I'm like, you ever met another one? You ever met a single Scraps? You saw an airplane.
Yeah.
That was the dog. I don't know. Man. Y'all remember when they shot the dog in airport security?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that dog's name was Scraps.
No way. On that note, this has been incredible already. So, what's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to Real Notes. I think this is number 9. I'm pretty sure this is number 9. Dylan Green, CineMasai. I got a whole bunch of names. That's just 2 of them. I don't really know that I have a whole bunch of names. I just started saying that and I just can't get it's just there. It's just never gonna leave. But yeah, so that's me. And I have 2 incredibly special people on my show today. We got fucking producer extraordinaire L'Orange and rapper, producer, musician extraordinaire Namir Blade in the place to be. So
yes.
Welcome. Thank y'all, man, for coming on to my shit. I really appreciate it.
No doubt, man. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
I'm out here trying to run errands and make sure I don't get ran over out of this corner store parking lot because it's literally World War Z in this bitch.
Yeah, like the old school Wall Street headset.
Oh
yeah.
Yo, this is the headset for my old job. And I did some liberating of my own. I was like, this headset is high quality too. So I was like, I'm gonna keep this forever.
For a second, I thought it was like an old PlayStation headset, but nah, it makes more sense that's.
I use it for my PlayStation though. My shit come in hella HD. Hell yeah.
That's
all you gotta do is just plug it in because PlayStation remotes are probably one of the most like universal things ever. If you have like any earpiece that like you can speak through, like you can just plug that baby in and like be ready to go. You damn near could plug AirPods into a PlayStation remote, and like that shit will fly.
Right. Like I've been trying to hook up my Bluetooth joints that I got on right now, and like they're weird about it for some reason. Like
these are these shitty headphones that I've had for years. These little skull candy ones. And I've had the same, I hate these silver ones, but I've just downgraded. Before I had like these gold joints and then the black ones and then the silver ones. And then I'm just like going down further and further. But they work with my ear. My ear's all fucked up. And so having like the right headphones and the right comfort and the right everything for it. And plus I hate Bluetooth. I like having this mic right here, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The Bluetooth thing's kind of been weird to get used to. But yeah, I know with you in particular, L'Orange, I know you've been like, I saw you tweet something about like you've been using that same brand at least, or like that same model for the last like however. Yeah, that's crazy. Like I get it.
I won these in I won my first pair in a beat battle in like 2011 or something like that. And and they did up the case for the headphones like it was a trophy. They had like a little dude on top and everything, you know.
Sick.
And so it was like that first place prize, and so I got those, and then I just fucked with them ever since then. But they're soft. They got this leather and like the mic, and they just check all my boxes. Plus, they sound like they're not that good, but I know kind of like how to listen for things.
Yeah, they're familiar. Like I get that because I had a pair of red Monster over-ear headphones for years that I used. Like I used them up until I bought these, and I had, and like they were like broken and busted. Like I got a whole other pair and shit too. Like I get knowing what to listen for and like having that familiar feeling of like the wire, and that's crucial. It makes working on anything that much better. You know.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel it. So to get things started, I'm gonna ask y'all the same question that I ask everybody when we first start this off. So like, for both of you, when was the first time you went to the movies?
Yeah. I mean, I must have been real little. I don't know. You mean like my first big movie experience, or like literally the first time I went to the movie?
Your first big movie experience. I think that's a better way to put it. Yeah.
That's you. I'll catch up here. I need to Google something.
I went to see The Matrix when I was probably like 6, I believe. I think I was in I was either 6 or 7. I know for a fact I was in the 2nd grade because The Matrix changed my life so much. Just watching that shit from a young age, and just like, and even before like I understood what it was about, I kind of understood what it was about at 6, and like the fight sequences, the music, it gave me that full blockbuster cinematic experience. The shit was crazy. It was niggas flying all over the fucking place. Like everybody had shades on. Like they had that coinable party scene, which is like the club scene, which is like one of the most iconic thing in movies of that era. Like every movie back then.
The one in Zion, yeah. That shit's crazy.
No, not even that one. The first one when
and like the French lady, right?
Yeah, the tweakers came to get that shit from Neo. Then they White Rabbit.
Mm-hmm. It was like a party where there was like a club down there.
Yeah. So that was like Matrix 1.
I gotta say The Matrix is the first movie you ever saw. You know, my answer is just gonna be like dumb as hell right next to that. Mine's like the first one that came to my mind is the movie The Sixth Man. Do you know what movie I'm talking about?
I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
It's a movie about basketball, about a dude who plays basketball and his brother dies on the court playing with him, and then he comes back as a ghost to help him win the championship.
That's incredible. What are you talking about?
That movie is so dumb. That movie is so dumb. And I remember I had it on VHS too, and I would watch it. And I remember I watched it with one of my friends, and I pretended to go to the bathroom because it made me so sad when his brother died. I was probably like 7 or 8, and I was like thinking I was going to be tearing up, and I was like, I can't do that in front of him. You know,
damn.
Gotta be a man. I'm 7 now.
I'm 7 years old watching this basketball ghost movie. I gotta nut up right now. Like,
man of the house, baby.
Not today.
Oh my god!
In the bathroom, looking at yourself in the
You're
mirror.
talking about like one of the
"Smooth."
greatest movies ever made, and I'm talking about The Sixth Man.
Hey,
Watch that shit, yo.
honestly, that's incredible because
It's Marlon Wayans, and his brother was not played by another Wayans brother.
who was it?
His brother
What the
was
fuck?
played by Kadeem Hardison.
Are you kidding?
Wow! No way! Mm-mm.
Oh shit!
See, that's kind of crazy because this wasn't the first movie I'd ever seen, but the first time I remember like. Because like the first movie I remember seeing was The Lion King, but I'm not gonna tell that story right now. The one that I'm interested in is when I first saw Stomp the Yard with one of my best friends, Spencer, at the time, or not at the time, he's still one of my best friends, but like at the time, my boy and I saw the movie in theaters the day it came out, and then Chris Brown got shot and killed. Like in like the first like 15-20 minutes, and like neither of us really fucked with him like that, and like this was before the whole Rihanna thing, but like we were both just like, yeah, like fuck Chris Brown. Everybody else is really sad.
Damn. Yo.
I remember hearing about this. I remember somebody like either like wanting to go see the movie or not wanting to go because of Chris Brown getting killed in the movie that early. I have some memory of Stomp the Yard, Chris Brown dying. Now, granted, we are different ages.
Yeah.
So but you're probably right. It probably was like one of those cartoons, like The Lion King or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I don't remember that. I remember The Sixth
Man. I mean, like I gotta go watch it now. Like I'm gonna go find it because the only other, like, because you've seen like Jack Frost and shit before, right? Like the Michael Keaton movie where he's the snowman.
I've never seen it. I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah.
All those movies are so weird, but like they're
Angels
really
in the
fascinating
Outfield.
to me. Angels in the Outfield, another good one.
There were a million of those. These like loving ghost movies.
Then you have
like a whole genre.
Yeah, then you have literally Ghost with
Ghost.
Yeah.
That was the first one.
Yeah. No, that actually might have been the one that started it all. That's kind of loose.
Mm-hmm. I've never seen it. My dad saw my first apartment in Nashville, and he came in and he said, reminds me of the apartment from the movie Ghost. And that was the only time he ever came into my place, and that was the only thing he ever said about it.
And you never got a pottery wheel for it or nothing? Like
the pottery scene.
That's exactly what I wanted to do.
That movie was chaotic.
Yeah, for real. And like, and yeah, like Whoopi Goldberg's in it and shit. Like, yeah, it's a crazy movie. You got to watch it at some point.
Yo, which brings me to this question, gentlemen: do you consider How High a ghost movie?
Oh my god!
Oh, that took me a second.
You know, it's like, is it a ghost? Because technically it is, but it's also like a cult classic stoner film.
Right. So for anybody listening who hasn't seen How High, Namir, explain your reasoning behind that, because that's crazy.
Because like my man's ghost is like a really, really important part of the movie. Like my man's like him and Meth, you know, like they're real cool or whatever. Meth goes over, comps some trees. He's just like, yo, this is that redonkulous shit, my nigga. Like, smoke this. I got a little lady coming through. Yeah, I mean, so like, you just slide out, do your little college shit. I'm gonna do this. And he was like an expert at growing weed. And then my man ended up dying in the most zaniest way. And they put his ashes into the plant. And when Meth smoked it, his ghost came and like ended up helping him and Redman get through college.
Yeah. No, it's a ghost movie.
I'm surprised that kind of took me a second. When you said ghost movie, I was sitting there being like trying to remember How High being.
Yeah.
Talking about. Because that's not what I think of when I think of How High. But you're right though. Is that when he died on the bike and the shit just keeps happening to him over and over again?
Yeah, like some shit.
Like
he gets set on fire.
Goldberg machine.
Yeah, a Dick Van Dyke machine. They activate the Dick Van Dyke button, and like this nigga just dies all over the place in his apartment. and it's fucked up too, because you think he's gonna like survive, like, because he falls asleep, his locks light on fire, he like ends up like falling like out of the window, and he's on the ground. He's just like, oh shit, I'm alive. And then bam, gets fucked up. Like I think he gets like hit by something or something, and like it's just a wrap, and they cremate him and they smoke his ashes.
You know what?
And
I was actually thinking of the other one. It's similar, but there's another dude later on in that movie. I don't know if he dies or not, but that's like he's on a bike or something, and then it's the same kind of thing where it just snow, where he just keeps getting hit over and over again. I think it was that. It was the white dude. I don't know what the character was.
Oh, the dude who drinks the toilet water.
Probably.
Did he die? I don't remember if he died.
I don't think he dies. He gets injured.
Okay.
He goes through like some catastrophe where he's like riding away, and it just keeps happening.
He got the neck brace for like the rest of the movie.
Yup.
Right. Yo, it's been so long since I've watched How High. It's so funny because I was talking to Fly Anakin. I was talking to Fly Anakin about it when I had him and Sifu on maybe like a month or so ago. And wow. So yeah, I gotta go watch it again. Wow. Yeah, it's a ghost movie.
I watch that shit every 420, but I'm also too faded to like remember the movie because I just be cooked. But I go through that and like Half Baked and the classics.
Hey, son, it means it's a new experience every time. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yo, man. I still laugh uncontrollably at like the funny scenes in each of those movies. Like it's great.
When you're asking me details about this, I'm like, yo, first of all, I've never seen this movie sober. And the last time I saw it was probably 15 years ago.
Well, nah. We all gotta watch it again at some point. We gotta do a screening somewhere.
Oh yeah,
somehow.
I'm with it, yo. Watch party.
Is Groundhog Day a time travel movie?
No, it's not. I don't think it is.
Time paradox movie.
Like,
but would a time paradox movie classify itself as a time travel movie?
For sure it would. Those are alternate timelines.
Yeah, because Looper is a time paradox movie.
Yeah.
And we definitely consider that like a time travel movie. But I think I'm biased because like any movie with Bruce Willis is in it, like I'm just like science fiction.
Yeah, back to one of my favorite movies of all time, 12 Monkeys.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out to 12
Time
Monkeys,
travel
man.
and science fiction.
Totally.
Yeah, yo.
And technically a time paradox movie too. You think
technically a time paradox movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they kind of threw it in at the end. I think it was that whole movie was based off of a short film that only took place in that airplane, or in that airport. And so, but it's that I'm removed from that movie, the more I'm like, it feels like that was kind of tacked on. Like that was the starting point, but then at the end, it kind of did become a paradox movie. But you're kind of like, yeah. That wasn't really the movie. The movie was about him coming, the travel of moving around. But yeah.
Right.
He sees himself at the end. He sees himself get shot and it's all closed. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that movie's crazy. That movie's crazy. Yeah, I saw the short film that inspired it when I was in college. They showed it to us. And it's I like the I like the it's a French film. Yeah, I like the Bruce Willis. Terry Gilliam directed that, right?
Yeah, Terry Gilliam betrayed the fuck out of me. Terry Gilliam made me look like an idiot. I have beef with Terry Gilliam because I believed in him. Because I believed in Terry Gilliam, and then you would not believe how many people I was trying to put onto the Brothers Grimm before it came out.
Damn.
I was like, yo, you guys don't understand. He doesn't make movies that often. This dude's a genius. Like he's taking on. Imagine in a world where this movie didn't come out. I just told you the dude who made 12 Monkeys is making a movie about the Brothers Grimm. Come on. That's hype as fuck. I would love that movie. Except I just don't. That movie is awful.
Yeah, it's not good. And he's I don't really know if he's put anything out that's like I've liked since. I can't really think of anything that like I like that Zero Theorem movie he put out was decent, I guess, but
Well, see, I don't go back to people that, and so I never saw Zero. He messed me up there.
That's cruel.
I get it. I'm trying to find. There was another one too. It wasn't just Brothers.
Oh shit!
There were like 2 or 3 right in a row.
Well, real quick, while you're looking for those, so like let's get even more granular with it for the both of you. So like, what would you say is the movie that made you fall in love with movies? Like do either of you have one of those?
The movie that made me fall in love with movies.
I got an answer for
Man.
this.
Oh,
You
yeah,
want me
man.
to go first, Namir?
Take it away.
Yeah. No, the one, I mean, because I've been watching movies for a while but when I was like maybe 13 or 14, I saw The Big Lebowski. And I like, I don't know, man, you know, my family has always had a real dry sort of, you know, weird sense of humor, you know, all of us. And so, but, you know, even growing up with that with my family, I never really saw that in the world, right? So all the comedies were big and, you know, real Hammond, you know, in the 90s especially, like, I mean, for being a kid. And so when I saw The Big Lebowski, even though it came out in the early 90s, when I saw it, it was the early 2000s. And I remember I was watching it in the living room and I was like 12 or 13 and I watched the first scene. So the first scene where they come in and they dunk his head and they interrogate him about where the money is. And he's like, no, you have the wrong guy. And they keep dunking his head. And then it cuts to the title and then it goes into the bowling scene. And that's one of the best scenes in the movie where they're just talking about what happened while they're bowling, you know? And about halfway through that scene, I paused the movie and I walked into the other room where my mom was. And I said, this is my favorite movie I've ever seen in my life. It was just like, I'm like 7 minutes into this movie and it's my favorite thing I've ever seen. You know, because it was just one of the very few moments or very rare moments. And since there have been many, but where I was like, this is my kind of shit. This is my brain. And I've never had that. I've never been spoken to like that, you know, where I'm like, I see the way I think in this movie. And that's, you know, up until that point, I had never experienced that before.
That's a really incredible
Where's the
feeling.
fucking money, Lebowski?
Yo, you're out of your element, Donnie. Like all that shit.
I love that.
Like,
you're like a child walking into the middle of the movie.
Oh man, yeah, that
it.
that honestly might be my favorite John Goodman performance ever. Like either that or Oh Brother Where Art Thou are my two favorite moments of his. And that feeling you talked about is so important and so crucial because it's like that you like it's exactly what you said. It made you feel seen. Mm-hmm. Like that's the type of shit that that really connects to me. Like just like feeling seen by something, especially at that young of an age, is crazy. And that's a really great story.
It's, you know, it's not like if I look back on every movie I've ever seen and you're like, you know, what's the one movie that you connect with the most? My answer wouldn't be Big Lebowski, but that was the first time, you know?
Right.
And so when I'm, you know, going through that and I'm living in a world of this sort of like very traditional comedy, that is, some of it's amazing, right? But Big Lebowski set me on a road to being able to know that there were avenues out there that were made for me in my brain, you know, in my young brain. I felt like there's like this avenue that was special because it was made for me and not for other people.
Right. And now that shit is real. Namir, what about you?
My shit is gonna be like a really, really weird deep cut, but probably Lost Highway from David Lynch.
Shout out to Lynch.
That was
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was the movie that made me be like, yo, movies are fucking way, because that movie was just so insane to me. And I seen it for the first time. It was shown to me and I watched that shit. And just like the first scene, how it was shot, how David Lynch like pretty much like learned to use surrealism in film, and like how he applies it is just like without any like super duper crazy effects is like fucking amazing. And his pacing, like the dialogue is like just fucking magnificent the whole time. My favorite scene in that movie was when like Freaky Face comes to that party and he gives like the main character the phone, and the guy answers the phone. He's just like, hello, who is this? And he's just like, I'm blah blah blah. And he's just like, what do you want? He's just like, I'm in your house. And then like that nigga just starts laughing, and like just to see like the like sheer look of horror on my man's face as like he sees this nigga that he's looking dead at and hears the same voice on the phone talking about, I'm in your house right now. And he's just like, give me my phone back. And then he just dips. Like you never see him again until like later on in the movie, and like there's like a little timeline shift or skip or whatever the fuck. And yeah, that movie, because I've always been like a person who loves surrealism. Like I fuck with Salvador Dali, and I've always wondered like how could you achieve that, like that same style in film without doing animation. And like I feel like David Lynch is one of the few who mastered it. Yeah, I definitely feel like Lynch like just mastered that style, and yeah, like it's fucking sick. So yeah, I'll say Lost Highway.
I first started watching David Lynch movies when I was in high school, and that was like Lost Highway was one that I really loved, but I noticed a lot of people who were on that wave were like, it's not my favorite. Like, you usually get like your Blue Velvets and what's the one that everyone loves? Like, what's like the one David Lynch movie that everyone loves? Like,
is it Inland Empire?
Yeah, maybe Inland Empire or like
Elephant Man.
Or Elephant Man, or even something like Eraserhead. Like those are always usually the ones that come up a bunch. But like Lost Highway, and Mulholland Drive. That's the one. So like, so like Lost Highway is really underappreciated. I feel like people just that's definitely one of Lynch's weirder movies in a lot of ways, and yeah, I get it. Like he just has such a really unique way of looking at the world, and he just he apparently makes coffee too.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and he'll give you the weather.
And he'll give you the weather, like
the fucking weather report. Like him and Jim Jones are the only two people I'll listen to as far as the weather report.
Same here. I was about to say that. Like honestly, I would love to see them do the weather at the same time. Like honestly, we need
fam.
That. Yo,
we gotta make that shit happen before David Lynch like get up out of here. Like 2021 is like coming with a vengeance, like arm in arm with the Reaper. So it's just like, nah, man, we gotta get some shit straight before people get the fuck up out of here.
Yeah, nah, bro. Yeah, nah, we need that.
Oh yeah, I can see that shit now. David Lynch on square ass, like it is now 12 p.m. Take it away, Jones. Jones is just like, it's cold as fuck out here. It's fuck niggas storm.
you already heard it's brick out here. You heard? Like we love Jimmy. Jimmy's only getting better with age too. That's the thing about both Jim and David Lynch. They both get better with age too.
Yeah,
I never thought we'd be talking about Jim Jones and David Lynch in the same sentence. So this is already fire. Wow.
I mean, this is the energy we bring, baby.
Namir, your Jim Jones impression sound like the Jay-Z impression from the Handsome Boy Modeling School album.
Wow. Speaking of deep cuts. Wow.
Of course.
Yeah. Rodeo.
Oh my God, son.
Yeah. I piss my roommate off every chance I get with my Jay-Z impersonation. Like, especially like waking her up. Hey, yo, it's time to get up.
I'm not talking about frozen water.
I was under her door. They can't stop me from rapping.
Did either of y'all hear his verse on the Khaled album yet?
Nah.
It's okay.
Yeah, with him and Nas.
Yeah, it's just okay.
Man, it's nice. It's nice, man. I fuck with it because it's like Jay-Z. I feel like Jay is at the point to where like he don't really have to do it. He does it. Like he's given us so much. So like anything that he does do, and if it's like if it meets par, it's just like thank you, Jay. you just say thank you, listen to that shit, and move on. Plus, him and Nas collaborating again is dope. Nas.
I'd like to hear it. I haven't listened to it because I don't listen to a lot of new music that comes out all the time, But I'd like to hear it. I have a general rule about not listening to rappers who told me they retired. But
that's valid. That's valid.
That's kind of. I mean, that even goes to people I just know. Like rappers from my hometown where they're like, yeah, this is it. This is my last joint. And that's like 2013. And they're still hitting me up trying to get me to listen to new things. And I'm like, oh, you retired, man. You retired. Enjoy your retirement.
Yeah, like that goes for Lupe, that goes for Jay, that
It
goes
goes
for
for Mad Logic.
yeah. Please. I forgot that happened.
Magic.
Magic. Oh, okay. I'm glad you brought this up. I can't believe that's happening. Like, what does he have on him? what does Logic have on Mad
I can
Lib
tell
that
you.
this
I
happened?
mean, I don't know. I'm getting real loose right now because I'm just talking to two of my friends at this point. So maybe I should. I can tell you exactly what he has. He has a truck full of money. He
Hell
has
yeah.
the same. He has the same shit that got Harrison Ford to do the new Star Wars movies.
Okay. Yeah, no, but then again, even Harrison Ford only showed up for one of those. He's in the third one for like 5 minutes. He comes back as a ghost, so you can
I
talk
didn't
to
see the third one.
Kylo Ren.
That goes back to my
Oh,
trust issues. I saw
damn.
the first one. It was all right. Saw the second one. Didn't like it. Third one.
You didn't like this? Oh, okay. You didn't like The Last Jedi.
Yo, to keep it real with you, I'm more of a Star Trek. I'm a Star Trek guy.
That's fair. Okay. I
So if I
thought
was
we
like
were
a
about to go to some
diehard,
dark places.
if I was a diehard Star Wars fan, I would be there right away. But if I felt like about Star Wars how I feel about Star Trek, I would be there. But Star Wars is like I appreciate it. I'm a big sci-fi guy. It's impossible to deny. But I don't have those real fun Star Wars memories that I hear people talk about. And like, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying I dislike the movies. I'm saying that like the original three, I enjoyed all of them. But like just that feeling that people get with things that are so close to home. I see that in other people. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. And I definitely like the original trilogy, but it didn't have that same moment for me. Jurassic Park is like that too. I never had that moment as a kid where I was like, Jurassic fucking Park, And so I just, I'm not checking for the new ones like that. I'm not trying to walk in on other people's things and act like they're mine.
I get it. Yeah, I wasn't super into Star Wars as a kid either. I kind of sort of have the same relationship you do with it. I really, though I will say I had a big thing for Revenge of the Sith when it first came out. I think that was the one that really got me more than any of the others. And like, and of course, the original trilogy is the original trilogy, but like, I like Star Trek a lot too. But like I wasn't like super invested in it like that. It was like I'm trying to think of like the sci-fi thing that I really liked as a kid. Like,
I didn't get into Star Trek until I was in my 20s. It wasn't until I started dating my wife that
right.
As actually she her parents took me to it was like a modern, like a pop museum, popular culture museum.
Right,
and
right.
they brought me there because they were like, I want you, there's a Marvel exhibit and I know you love Marvel, right? And so I went there, which was very, very sweet of them, very nice of them. But to be completely honest, I don't love going to places that I love with people that don't love that same thing. So the whole time I'm just sitting there explaining Marvel because they're like trying to be like get me involved, and they're like, so who's this character? And I'm like telling them, but I'm like, I don't want to, that's not the most fun because I'm next to like all these other families that all know this shit already, and I'm like, this is Iron Man, and I'm like, I just feel weird, But
yeah,
there was
like it's a field trip and you're the teacher. Like,
yeah, that's what it felt like.
Professor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I start catching myself going like too deep, like I'm coming out of like X-Men Origins, explaining all the things that were wrong about it. Like I'm sitting there being like, well, Beta Ray Bill was really like people don't care like that, but
man.
So if I start to get excited, that's when I
real.
start feeling weird. And if I start, just humoring them, then I'm just humoring them, But right next to it, there was a Star Trek exhibit, and I didn't know anything about it, but they fucking love Star Trek, and that was my best experience going in there and watching them enjoy Star Trek. That made me be like, I want to go home and check this out. Y'all love this so much, that sort of feeling that I was talking about earlier is I was like, I could just feel it in them. That made me want to be a part of it. And so yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I wanna come back to that later because I want to talk more about Star Trek, but I also want to I think
Shit.
I think I think the I
I
think
said
the
I wasn't
whole
prepared, but all of a sudden I'm feeling really prepared.
see like the power was in you all along, my
Uh-huh.
friend.
Yeah.
That's how it goes and shit.
Yeah.
So as you're both kind of coming into your own as people and like as you're younger, like I want to start with Namir with this question, but like when did y'all first start making music? Because like Namir, I know you have like a whole journey and like you've made like every kind of music I could possibly think of. And you've been a part of groups, you've done it solo, you've produced, you've rapped, you've done everything. So like where did your fascination with music start, bro?
I have to like start it at the source, man, with my dad. Um, in Milwaukee, my dad was a producer, and like he worked with like a lot of people in Chicago. He did stuff with R. Kelly. He did stuff with fuck R. Kelly. He did stuff
Right.
with Bernie Mac. Yeah, you know, you gotta insert that. You gotta insert that
No,
because
of
when I was
course,
a
of
kid,
course, of course.
it was my shit. I was like, hell yeah, my dad worked with R. Kelly. And then like all the shit came out, and it's just been like,
Yeah.
but
20
Just a
years
yeah,
could change things.
As a
you
side
know what I
note,
mean?
wasn't it weird like 2 years ago when everyone started being like, "Did you know that R. Kelly was fucked up?" I'm sitting there going, like, "What? Where have you been?
Yeah.
This is not new.
Yeah,
This is like, do
this
you
is
know that he's a Soviet? What? This is like 2005."
right.
Keep going. That shit just blew my mind. My wife came to me after that documentary came out, and she was like, "Did you know about this?" Yeah. What do you mean? Did I know about this?
Like,
Like, this is on the
we
fucking. It was already to the point where it was on it was on Chappelle's show.
right
Like
in the
talking
Boondocks. We
about peeing
all
on people.
knew. We all knew. Like everyone
2003.
knew.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
right.
sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Keep going. That was not.
No, no, you killed that shit.
yeah. We needed that. We needed
That blew my mind. It blew my
Yeah,
fucking mind.
man. Yeah, we had to get him the fuck up out of there with the quickness. He's like, go on now. But yeah, he
Hell
did
yeah.
work with him. He did work with Bernie Mac. Just like a
Rest in
bunch of
peace.
like R&B neo soul people, and like he was like popping in like the 80s and like early 90s and shit before he had like me and all my siblings. So I remember because I spent the first 3 years of my life in Milwaukee with access to him. And when my mom, she let me stay over there because she moved to Nashville to like try to figure out like a way to gain her footing here. I stayed at my grandmother's house with my dad. He lived in the basement and he had like a studio set up down there. And like I remember like waking up and just hearing like fucking Teddy Riley, like New Jack Swing beats, just and like him just like on the keys, just tearing shit up. And like I remember one memory that I have of like when it first hit me that it's just like, yo, I want to do this for the like I want to do like this is my life's work. And I'm pretty sure I was like 2 or 3, but he had the talk box, like the actual talk box shit,
Mm.
and he was using it. And then he let me hop on it. And I didn't know what the fuck it was. I just knew it was cool. So I was like, Dad. And I was a little whiner when I was little. I was like, Daddy, I want to play the talk box. And he was like, all right, whatever, little nigga. Like, come here, sit on my lap and like take this little talk box straw. And I remember the first time I took the talk box straw, I didn't know what to do. And like I thought it was a straw. So like I tried to like fucking like I was just like, maybe there's liquid that makes me sing better. So I'm
Tried
gonna
to
try to
drink the
like
sound.
absorb. Yeah, I tried to drink the sound, that didn't work. And then I ended up slobbering all over that shit. And he was like, all right, nigga, you gotta go back upstairs. And ever since then, I was trying to get back to the talk box. So when we moved to Nashville when I was 4, I ended up taking the keyboard that I got. He got me a keyboard for Christmas when I was 2. I ended up taking that with me and like teaching myself how to play piano from like trying to play things from TV. And then my mom ended up getting me a piano, like a better piano. And yeah, like the rest is history. I've just been on it ever since.
Wow. So like who was so like once you started really making music for real, like what like where was the first place you went with it? Because like I know you started like pretty young, like taking it like very serious. Like if I remember correctly, I read something about you starting like being a part of a group in either middle school or high school. I can't remember off the top of my head. But
Middle school.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, middle school was fucking, so it was me, my homie LA, and our other homie Ace. And it's funny because me and Ace, we met through fighting in the bathroom.
Mm.
And it's funny because I talked to him to this day. It's like, bro, do you remember why we got to scrapping? And like we didn't know, it was just like on some like young kid shit. And I remember it because I was in 6th grade and like fucking no, I was in 5th grade, I believe. And fucking it was like when Dragon Ball Z was like in the Majin Buu era or whatever. And I remember like something happened and he started punching me. And like I just started like laughing like Majin Buu. And that nigga was just like, yo, what the fuck? And we just got to scrapping. And the teacher walked in and like this nigga just had me like choked up against the wall, like hitting my face. And I'm laughing maniacally. And she's just like, yo, both of you niggas have to go to the office, like right the fuck now. And we got in the ISS and we traded Yu-Gi-Oh cards in ISS and it snowed and we celebrated together. And me and him were friends ever since. Fast forward to
this is crazy. You're not gonna believe it. That's exactly how I met my wife. To a T.
That's your dumbass up, son.
Man, I mean that's like I think it's kind of the yams. I mean, I think it's kind of a classic love story, you know?
You know? Like
yeah.
He started slapping me and I was laughing. Majin Buu, you know, boy meets girl, girl slaps boy laughs like Majin Buu.
Boy laughs like Majin Buu. Everything is smooth and copacetic, like right after that.
Then immediately after, it's like I was looking at her and like, we're dating now, right? And she's like, yeah.
See, but like honestly, like you're joking right now, but that's really how all the best friendships start. Like just like on bullshit like that. Like whether it's a fight or like a disagreement or like some other shit. like
just pure tomfoolery.
Yeah, like most of my best friends who I've known since like middle school and high school that I'm still friends with to this day. Like we all have like I have stories like that with all of them, and I'm still just stuck on you. I'm just stuck on you and your wife fighting over Majin Buu now. That's gonna be in my head forever. I know it's not real, but like
it wasn't fighting over Majin Buu. I was just pretending to be Majin Buu. You know?
Oh shit!
Okay.
Yeah, same thing as Namir.
Okay.
You know, you gotta understand the part.
It's like that movie.
To understand the assignment. Shit.
Yeah, it's like the Notebook. I think is the movie where that happened.
Yeah,
it was just like the Notebook. It was like that scene where she started beating the shit out of him and he was laughing like Majin Buu. You remember?
Right.
That was my favorite scene.
Exactly.
That's the only scene I remember, yo. And then like the love story just evolved from there, you know? There was crying.
Exactly. And then he's in the rain.
There was a notebook involved. Yeah, he wrote the name in the notebook. They all had heart attacks after he wrote the names in the notebook.
They all had heart attacks.
Crazy, fam.
You talking about Death Note, son?
It was a massacre.
Was that the same movie?
Yeah. You know,
shit, my bad.
It was a massacre. It was a massacre, but it was also beautiful.
Literally, the only scene I remember from the Notebook is Ryan Gosling's character older dying while playing chess. That's the only thing I remember about that movie.
It was all I remember is that I've had several girlfriends. Every girl that has ever introduced me to the Notebook has also introduced me to the Avett Brothers.
Interesting.
Those are like the two staples of like I would put them in a category of I really think you'd like this. That sentence right there leads into both.
I really think you like this.
That's
and Game of Thrones.
I really think you. But it always starts with that. No. I really think you'd like it.
You're trying to leave?
See,
No.
This isn't like the other stuff I showed you. You'll really like this.
That's exactly what I did with my girl in Thor Ragnarok like a month ago.
Yeah.
I was and she it was WandaVision because she really liked WandaVision because of all the sitcom shit, which I love too. But then she was like, I kind of want to try these movies, and I was like, you're gonna love Thor Ragnarok, and she watched it, and we watched it together, and she loved it, and
You loved it?
That shit is real. That shit is real.
So the key to that is you can't go to Guardians of the Galaxy right after that, because then she's gonna think they're all like that.
Yeah.
You gotta go to a different part. You gotta go to a different style of Marvel movies. See how she feels about that. Put your toes.
She also really likes the Ant-Man movies too. She's
Same.
really into like she's really into like the lightweight, like comedic Marvel movies, which is great. Like I love that type of shit too. So it's all good.
Yeah, my wife loves those Ant-Man movies more than anyone else. More than the general public.
They're fire, so I don't blame. I don't blame either of them.
You know what's stupid? I hate. There's one moment in that first Ant-Man movie that I just fucking hate, and this seems like as good of an opportunity to complain about this as any. Right?
Let's go.
There's it's like there's an example for like evil characters just doing evil shit for no reason. Right, like that's a pretty common trope in movies. But like, there's one where it's the bad guy is like testing out the shrinking ray, right? And he's bringing in the test subjects, and instead of bringing in he brings in like a lamb, like he brings in like a little sheep, and then they do it and it turns into goo, right? And they're like test subject 47, and they're like bring it in, turns into goo, and they're like, oh, it didn't work, and he's like, oh, we're gonna get this working one day, you know. And he goes, and they're like, should we change the settings? And he goes, bring in test subject 48. Yeah. And he's like, I'm not done killing lambs today.
just to show how evil he is. Yeah.
No reason. Didn't change anything. Just wants to kill some more lambs.
Yeah, and that's the bald-headed sad sack senator dude from House of Cards too, which is always funny to me.
That dude.
That's so funny to me.
Bring a test subject 48.
Shit is the worst. Nah, you're right. That's deplorable for no fucking reason.
I gotta goo some more sheep.
Yo, so L'Orange, talk to me. Talk to me about how you started making music.
I started making music when I was about 10 or 11, and I think I was about 10 because I had been put onto the Diggable Planets, and that like just changed my whole world. Because, you know, it was kind of similar to what I was talking about with the Big Lebowski, where I heard some stuff and I was like, oh shit, this was made for me, just me. No one else can like this except for me, because this is who I am. And everything was just bass driven, right? And so I was like just dying to get a bass guitar. And I remember like asking my parents if they could give me one. And they were real hesitant, mostly because they were like, yeah, you know, they didn't say it like this, but they were like, but, you know, the bass sucks though. So maybe a guitar, like, you know, just imagining I was going to regret my decision, which is probably a heads up play for an 11-year-old like trying to get into music. And they're like, do you know what you're asking for when you're asking for a bass? You know, like who wants to be a bass player when they're 10, you know? But, it was specifically because of the Diggable Planets. Everything was bass driven. And so I got my bass and I just started learning all these Diggable Planet songs and just sort of feeling them out and all that, trying to look up tabs. And so
those are the days, yeah.
Off of like Internet 1.0. You know,
yes.
Printing out tabs with black backgrounds, you know, using all that printer ink. Just hearing that printer like start to smoke because I didn't realize that you could hit a printer friendly version.
Right.
Anyway.
Real quick aside, my sister and I used to do that with tabs too. My sister more than me, but like the two of us, like tabs. Most
cheat codes.
Tabs and there you go. Yeah. Like, and nobody above the age of 26 better act like they don't know what we're talking about right now, because that's real. That's real.
The parents, my mom yelling at me. Yeah. My dad and mom yelling at me because there's no ink in the printer and they just replaced it yesterday. And I'm sitting there with like 50 pages that are all blacked out, you know.
Okay, that's kind of raw. That's kind of raw. I don't know nothing about that, but
yeah, well, that's a lesson you have to learn once. You know.
Real talk, yo.
But so so I was learning all that. I was playing a lot of that, and then I was in a lot of bands. I was in like live music, hip hop bands and stuff like that, and then a couple of, like random rock. You know, when you're a bassist, you get a lot of work. You know, because people just don't have bassists. You know, most bassists are just guitar players that aren't as good as the other guitar player.
Bass is so underappreciated, man. Like,
it's
like what did Murderface on Death Clock say? He said bass is the foundation of the band. Like that's the groove. Like
I mean, I don't know. Keep it simple.
Except didn't they like turn his amp off?
Yeah, they turned his amp off.
no one noticed.
They fucked him over so many times.
Yeah.
They were. Yeah, Death Clock was really rude to him. But anyway, sorry.
They're not wrong though. There's some truth to that. So I played bass for a long time, and while I was doing that, I was learning guitar and learning drums, and like a little church next to my school that I would go in, and I was never raised with any religion, but I told them I was, so they would let me play their drums, and so they kept, and like they just had an open room for music, like a lot of churches do, you know, and so I would go in and play the drums, and I remember the dude kept coming back like every single day, and he's like, you know, I looked for you on the Sunday service, and I couldn't find you. You know, were you there? And I was like, oh, I got there late. Like I eventually got kicked out. It was I got a solid 6 months, and that was enough to learn the basics of the drums before they were like, you can't back here if you're not, like, you seem like you maybe are just a random person that is just coming in and playing our drums. And I'm like, that's essentially accurate.
You just got what I need. You got that good. You got that good.
You got that good. Yeah. With my new age parents who didn't put me in church early.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how I was. And then after that, I went into college and was, but all my family were writers. There aren't really any musicians in my family. And so it was, kind of a different thing. I think I carved out my own little spot doing that. But then I was in bands after high school, and then I was doing production, music, like hip hop production, kind of the whole time, but not very well. Just sort of like as a little side thing, because I enjoyed, hip hop was the genre that I was listening to the most. And, and then I got so fucking tired of working with other people. And like, there's something, I don't know, maybe I'm weird about this, but there's something like in order for me to make the best music I can, I have to really pursue some like really vulnerable, weird ideas that don't sound like good ideas. I want to pursue some like bad ideas and then create something cool out of that. And how the fuck am I supposed to pitch a bad idea to someone and then be like, I trust you, So like, I just got tired of that game of like, of being like, look, I want to make this song in 5/4, and like by the end of it, it might be a dope 4/4 song, but I need to start there in order to make something cool,
Yeah. And got to sand the edges. I get it.
Yeah, and so I just started. That was kind of my entry into just doing hip hop production full time. Was I just got so tired of trying to justify my creative decisions that I wanted to do it on my own.
Wow. So while the two of you are on these divergent paths and you're like coming into your own musically, was there ever a period of time for either of you where music and film kind of like came together in your head when you realized that they just kind of synced? I know that's a weird question. But
I got an answer for this, Namir, if you want to think about it.
All right. Yeah. Take them away.
Yeah, no, I actually know this exactly. Because I went to a art school for a semester in high school at North Carolina School of the Arts, and I was in this little dorm thing, with I was probably 13, and I was there with there was like a bunch of people there for acting and music and film, and I did everyone there for the first like 36 hours. I was like, I do not fuck with any of y'all. Y'all take yourselves so seriously. Like I am down, like I'm self-involved, self-indulgent, creative, weird, depressed dude. So I'm familiar with taking myself seriously, but these people just take everything that seriously. Like, and so I just, it was tough. I didn't enjoy any of it until I met the film people, and the film people were dope. The film people were down with anything. They were like, the weirder the ideas, the better. Like, just be out there, learn your craft, like the people that were there to like be like, no, the rule says you do this. Those are the people that have jobs outside of film now. The people that were wild and like, just be inviting these like crazy concepts were the people that ended up, now being 15 years removed or whatever, the most successful out of the bunch. And those were the people that I used to stay up until like 4 or 5 in the morning, just letting them put me on to new movies. And so they were just showing me movies constantly. And I was skipping classes and shit because I was basically just going to school with them, just like racking up movies. By the time I went back to my regular school, I had become like the film dude there for a minute. I wouldn't say I'm that dude anymore, but there was like a solid 3 years where I was like the film guy because I went through this, just boot camp for like people putting me on to all these movies. And so, yeah, and seeing that and then coming there with all of my musical background and all that, I mean, that was probably the moment that like both piqued my interest in the entire spectrum of film, but also with how music sort of accompanies that.
Is there like a, oh, I'm sorry, Namir, my fault. Like just on one more follow up. Was there like a specific movie for you where like that all came together, or was it just like kind of like the combined experience of all those movies that gave you that perspective?
I think it was overall. I mean, I if I had to pull one, I feel almost bad because I feel like there probably is a better answer to this. But, the one that really comes to mind was like Pulp Fiction, where you see that soundtrack just have such an impact, or even like just Kill Bill, where you're like you're putting you're juxtaposing these genres of music in this way that just creates this entire world. Like it feels like you would step into a Tarantino movie. It's not as if, it exists on some gradient between like, here is life, here's a movie, and you're somewhere in here. It's like, he is like, this is my world, this is the regular world. And the music does a lot of the lifting. It's like the dialogue obviously is so unique, but the music is really apart.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like for all the problems I have with Tarantino, he's really incredible at that. I
would love to hear your problems with Tarantino. I would love that conversation. That sounds really fun.
Yo, so real quick, he has his character say nigga too much, and
I agree completely.
That's my take too.
I agree completely. I was
the same way.
I mean, I understand my position in this conversation, but I completely agree. It makes me uncomfortable, especially in Pulp Fiction, because he created his own damn character just to come in and say it randomly 5 times. It was so unnecessary. Either, it had nothing to do with the story. Like, I get like Django maybe, right? But like Pulp Fiction, he literally just created this character from nothing. And he's just like, no. This dude says the N-word. Why?
He said, "Do I have a sign?
I call the shots."
Yeah.
Is there a sign on my house that says "dead nigger storage"? I'm like, and he said it like 3 times. I'm like, yo, you gotta stop. You gotta stop.
And like, it would be one thing if this was like some racist random character that they were like, okay, no, it's important that he's that he just says the N-word, right? But this dude has no backstory. He has no context for this movie at all. Only appears in one scene, and he cast himself. It's just such a weird combination of shit. I couldn't agree with you more. He's so bizarre.
He's a weirdo in that way. And like the funny part is Jackie Brown is my favorite movie he's ever made. And like, yeah, it's just Jackie he's interesting. Like he's a legend and he's made classics. He's very interesting. I wish we had more time, but like I have so many things that we could do an entire episode just about Tarantino.
Just as a side note, I have 2 memories of white friends growing up saying the N-word, quoting Pulp Fiction as a result of that movie. It normalized it in a weird way.
Eek. See?
That's what I'm saying.
This is the proof. This is why it's wrong, guys. Like
I couldn't agree more. I was like 12 years old, 13 years old, and I watched my friends say it. I remember this so specifically, and I remember going, that feels weird. That feels weird that you think that's okay right now. Like,
that's incredible.
Dude, it's from a movie. Wow. It's from a movie, bro.
Yeah, he's like, Tarantino said it. It's his movie. He wouldn't say it if it wasn't okay.
I'm the character, dude. Like, dude, I went to school for acting. I want to act out the character, dude. And like, I have to play the role, dude. Understand the assignment, bro.
Yeah. I chose a monologue. I chose a monologue to audition with, and I chose Tarantino's character from Pulp Fiction.
That's even worse. That's even worse.
Cherry picked that one line from that brilliant movie.
Wow.
Couldn't wait. Rub his hands together.
Otherwise brilliant movie, I should say.
Yeah.
Oh,
truly.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Namir, what about you?
Fuck, man. The shit that, like, brought music and visuals together for me. So I don't know if y'all remember this shit, but, like, a long time ago in the 90s, Toonami did this shit to where they, like, had a block to where they show music videos instead of anime. And
yeah, I remember that.
They showed Interstellar 5, like Secret Star System with Daft Punk.
Yep. And
they showed, I think, like the little gorillas. I think they showed like 2000, Tomorrow Comes Today and Clint Eastwood. And no, I don't think they showed Rock the House, but they showed those. And being a kid and seeing the Daft Punk movie, that shit blew my mind, Joe, because like it's like everything and the music synced up. And I was always like a really, really visual person when it came to music, to where it's just like I could like see what I was playing and like fucking like communicate like different keys, different pitches to like different scenes in my head. And like for me, that Daft Punk movie was literally the perfect thing. Like everything just synced up so well, and it gave me a lasting memory. And I just remember seeing that shit and just be like having my mind blown. And as an adult, I still watch it. Like at least it's one of like my once a year joints. Like I'll just like cut on that shit and just watch it all the way through. And as an adult, I realized like, yo, this movie is about like the music industry. And like that made it even better. And then watching like the Gorillaz shits and like seeing those characters that they designed, that they got I think the illustrator from Tank Girl to do, and like applying it to their music and making it come to life. It was fucking amazing. And ever since then, I've always like married music and like the visualization of that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I had to enunciate.
But nah, like that was really a watershed moment for me too, because that was the first Daft Punk album I ever heard was Discovery. So
Same.
like and yeah, like Discovery is all over that movie. So yeah, like wow, that's and like that hits different too, because they just broke up and like hurt my heart. I've been a huge Daft Punk fan forever. I've been meaning to go back and rewatch Interstellar, and I just haven't. I got to do that. Like
you got to
soon.
do it, fam.
Like,
it'll change your fucking drawers, my nigga. Like on me.
Need that. Need that shit. And another thing for you, Namir, is like, I mean, like, I know your last album and your Mello debut, the Traveling Circus, Phillion's Traveling Circus. Did I pronounce that right, by the way? Phillion?
Yeah, Phillion's. Yeah,
Phillion.
Phillion.
Okay. I fucked it up a little bit. Sorry. So yeah, Phillion's Traveling Circus. Phillion's Traveling Circus is like, this was like a really like, it's just a really big, sprawling, like expansive concept album in the vein of something like a Deltron 3030. That's the first thing I thought of when I was like kind of going through it a couple times. And like
Yes.
and like for you, like, just, you know, like really quickly, like walk me through like what the like what it was like kind of putting this story to the music you were making at the time, because it's really like it's a pretty massive effort. Like that's a really huge album, like just like content wise.
Oh yeah, yeah. Which intimidated me a lot about like even thinking of like that being the album that I sent in, because it's just like, man, I've seen so many concept albums just not work out in this day and age. But I was just like, man, it's something that I've always wanted to do. I've always been an imaginative person. And like the world of like that Phillion takes place in, it's a world that I've been building on since a small child. Because I grew up doing text-based online role play, which is like essentially just getting a bunch of people together in like group chats and like on a site and just having a cooperative story be like typed out, and you create characters and all of that shit. So that whole universe was kind of like a universe that I've expounded on from like RPing from ages like fucking 12 to 18. And since I don't RP anymore, I've garnered most of my writing attention to just writing raps and expressing like a lot of storylines, ideas, arcs, so on and so forth through like either writing or like producing music. And I've always loved science fiction, and science fiction was like my favorite style of role play to do, because you could be as creative as you want. It's just like you could literally de-atomize a nigga like in a like if you box in with him. So it was just yeah, like all of my characters was just like crazy OP. It was OP but like fun, you know. And Phillion's is kind of just like an amalgamation of that and like my sheer love for like science fiction, from like how it's portrayed through media, through like visuals and videos, how it's portrayed through the soundtracks and the scores, like. And I wanted it to be just like this amazing thing. I wanted it to affect people how Blade Runner affected me when I watched it for the first time.
Man, say that. And like it's really dope to hear about all the RP and like role playing shit, because like I grew up with a lot of people, like specifically Black people, who did that type of shit. Like I wasn't as deep in it, but like all my friends were. And there's always been this like misconception that like niggas don't like that shit. And like they do, you know. And that's that's one of the things I really appreciated about Phillion's Traveling Circus, is that like it kind of just reinforces like, yeah, we're here, like we like this stuff, we want to express ourselves through this stuff. And like you did it in a way that was really like not confrontational, but like just very, you stayed 10 toes and you didn't like water it down for anybody. And like that's like respect for real. Like
oh no, man, I view being a musician and a creative as like you have a responsibility to whatever culture you come from, to expound on that, celebrate that, and bring a light to it. And if I would have started with anything else, it would have been just like a disservice to one of the most biggest cultures that inspired me, that I was a part of, that kept me out of trouble when I was young and getting into shit. And it's just like, no, I got to do it. Got to do it to pay homage, because there's not a lot of visibility with people like that in hip hop specifically. And I peeped that like now everybody's like on this anime wave. Thank you, Megan. I'm just like, cool, like, because y'all are like in this and y'all are like bringing like a light to this in whatever capacity you can and whatever way you can interface with that shit. it's just like it makes it easier for people like me to come along and like really be able to like speak and elaborate like on the culture that's influenced a lot of us that we may be afraid to talk about because we might face rejection, all of that.
Right. And yeah, like it's like I've just seen that come more from like other people's own ignorance about like the type of people they be around versus like how it actually is, like we all live in our own heads, and it can feel like we're alone until you hear something like what you put out, and you hear something like Imaginary Everything, and it's like, oh, like that's one of the things I love about music, and one of the things I love about the internet, and one of the things I love about movies is that they like, it's all like at its best, it's a communal effort, and it makes everything feel so like, it just makes you feel less alone, like that's everything. That's really everything. So on that note, when did you two first meet, and how did Imaginary Everything come together?
I really enjoyed that, by the way.
Thank you.
Just a side note, just as a fan, I really enjoyed that. I haven't heard y'all talk about Phillions like that, and it was a lot of interesting things I hadn't thought
about.
Man,
do you want to take it away?
When we met. Well, yeah. To actually say when we met, because I think we met before we met.
Yeah, we definitely.
We both lived in Nashville.
Right.
Yeah, and so I think we met at some point, but like, I don't know, man. I don't really.
Elle ignored me.
I'm not like a social dude. I'm not like a social person. Like, this is like, when I'm out, I kind of am like very uncomfortable, and so and so some people take that the wrong way, but I'm just very uncomfortable out in the world sometimes.
Went home and cried.
Like I always enjoy my conversations with Namir, because we it's such an interesting compliment. Like, because like I love talking to people, but I just like talking to people in sort of a safe place where I'm comfortable. And Namir is so fucking bombastic and awesome. So it's a fun, even just to be a part of talking with him. It's fun because we're very opposites, but it seems like there's such a middle ground where we both exist. It's just a lot of fun. But no, the first time we met, I think somebody introduced us at some show or something like that. And I probably wasn't really trying to meet people, because I'm never really trying to meet people. So, I always like having context. When people are like, yo, you got to meet this dude, I'm like, do I? Because 99% of the time when someone says that, I really don't meet that person. I could just keep living and not know that person. They would be okay. And so we probably met each other, and I probably just said, what up? And we just left, But
exactly how
that sounds like me.
Got the fuck out of there, yo.
Yeah, I don't like meeting people. Just saying the same shit. I don't know, man. Just saying the same shit I've said 1,000 times. And I don't like lying to people either. And it feels like lying when I'm sitting there being like, oh, it's so good to meet you. You're like, I don't know if it's good to meet you. I don't know if it is. It doesn't feel like it. And so when we met, and I think somebody in Nashville put me onto him, and I didn't really know what was going on. It was probably 30 people that night, And so, but then like years later, I was looking into this one artist, and then I kept listening to the production. I was like, yo, who was producing this shit? That's what I want to know. And then it turned out that all my favorite tracks were all produced by Namir. And then I was like, oh shit, that's kind of dope. And so I was looking at it, and then I started hearing him rhyme and singing, and I was like, oh my God, like who is this dude? And so and we connected, and when I was already in Seattle, but we first met when I was in Nashville, probably.
Mm.
That same shit happened with Amerigo Gazaway, by the way, if you're familiar with him. Or Amerigo Gazaway, he does like Nashville. He did like Fela Kuti and all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
He was in Nashville too. No,
shout out to him, he's amazing.
This is like 2011 when we would have met. But the first time we met, I think we were both kind of just like, oh, you got to meet this dude. This is Amerigo Gasway. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool, man. Peace. And then I just left. And then like I was listening to his album and I was like, man, is this the dude I met today? Like, and so the next time I saw him, I was like, hey, so are you that guy who does those mashups? And he was like, are you that dude that did the Mad Writer? And I'm like, fuck yeah, like, yeah, all right, you know. So it's like I don't know who I'm, you know, unless I have some context, it's hard for me to pretend like I'm excited. You know?
Right.
But Namir, just, you know, listening to him from Seattle was just fucking crazy. And so I didn't really plan when we first met. I put Mello onto him, and that sort of, you know, escalated in a dope way. And then I hit him up in November to see if he wanted to do like an EP with me, because I was kind of just trying to figure out what I wanted to do next creatively. Then we ended up sort of just figuring it out and making, you know, a whole LP, and came out pretty dope. You know?
Yes, sir.
Best shit in the world, yo. Best shit in the world.
I think what I said was pretty dope. I think what I said was pretty dope, but what I meant was best shit in the world.
That shit is going to change lives. We're going to have bitches crying in the middle of the street, holding their children close to their bosoms. Mm-hmm. Like, niggas going to be doing backflips.
Because they're scared of the potential of the music.
Singing I Can Change and shit. Yeah.
The CIA is going to ban me.
That's what happens. That's what happens when you make an album that's this good. The CIA bans you.
Yeah, like heads will explode.
That's yeah. So
people are gonna get set on fire like how high?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
People. Yeah. Yo, not even that. People are just gonna like self-immolate in the streets, like, and then like the smoke's gonna come up and it's gonna say "Listen to Imaginary Everything" as they're burning into the atmosphere. Like,
that's a good promo idea. Bring me Subject 57.
Yeah.
Lamb.
So like kind of I mean, we don't have to spend too much time on this, but like I'm really interested in like how the concept for Imaginary Everything kind of came together, especially for Namir, because like considering how like expansive and like wide a Phillion's Traveling Circus was, and then coming into something that's a little looser, like with Imaginary Everything, like what was it like going from there to here and like working with L'Orange for a full joint? And that's really for both of you, but please feel free to start.
Yeah. So L hit me up and he was just like, yo, let's do some shit. And I was like, all right, bet. And he was just like, one rule, have fun. Fuck it. Just do whatever. Just have fun. Just have fun, man. Like don't think about it too much. Just hey, don't think about it. Have fun. And at the time, like I was just like, sophomore project. And he called me and just be like, hey, have fun. So he started sending me beats, and we ended up like just having like a million phone calls, hashing it out, picking out like some of the waviest beats and shit, and like shooting them drafts and shit. And like just personally through creating it, I viewed it as a challenge because I haven't rapped on like fucking like hip hop beats in like such a long time. And I was just like, yo, I want to be able to like still dabble like in this area. And I remember like I had a lot of fun while doing it. Like doing stuff like my first little project I released when I was 18 or some shit. And I was just like, yo, I want to get back to that. This shit came out at like came around at the perfect time. So I just started watching a bunch of fun movies. Like I definitely watched The Big Lebowski. I watched like a shit ton of like old blaxploitation films. I slid Jackie Brown in there.
Hey.
I watched a fucking Goofy movie, like all the movies that
Classic.
like, you know what I mean, like reminded me to have fun. And I just developed this character out of the whole thing. And I was just like, all right, this character is just like late 70s, early 80s, like music exec scumbag. And I'm just gonna rap about this nigga's life and relate that to like shit that I've gone through as well, so that the connection can still remain. And like the beats that L sent to me that I connected most with, they just had like this real like 60s 70s psych rock deal to them. And yeah, I just gravitated like towards those, and like just shit that just sounded like fucking black superhero music. And yeah, I just wrote, like I'd listen to them every day. I'd freestyle to them in the living room. Back then I was like working from home, and like I have my work computer on my desk, and then I have my other computer on my little like end table. And like between calls while I'm helping people with issues, like I just like pause the call and just start freestyling and writing. And that's how that shit came together. But it was definitely like a lot of growth for me on my part. Um and I had to like apply like not as much discipline as I would normally apply when I'm working on like my personal shit. And I ended up just having a blast recording it all and like just putting it together. And like when it finally came together and I listened to it when we got the master sent back, I was just like, oh man, this is what I was going for. Like this is fun. I danced around the house to that shit. I called L and we talked about it and just how excited we were. So like all in all, it was like a really, really good, fun experience. And it also commanded me to grow in a lot of ways that I didn't know I could. So all in all, like, yeah, one of the most wavy experiences I've had, like putting a project together. Cause I haven't rapped on not my beats in a long time.
Right. Yeah.
I haven't rapped on beats that weren't really mine in like a long time. And it was just cool to just do a project to where I didn't have to like worry about production or garnering the sound. And I got to allow like another individual to like imagine how they would like my voice on like a beat or something, and like pretty much like work with them to like come up with something like totally new. So that shit was ill.
Right, man. Yeah, so like it's loose but not too loose. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, because yeah, like I hadn't even picked up on the fact that this was like a character to kind of sort of like be following ish from song to song. So
Mm.
I'm looking forward to going back and kind of having that mindset, because yeah, like even a song like Gassed Up is something that like that gives me very like, I can't think of like a specific movie, but like it definitely gives me like blaxploitation vibes. It's just got that bounce and the grain and the bells in the background, like just those little details in the
And
beat,
the
and you just
bass
kind of
line, baby.
and the bass line, son, like yeah, and you just came at it's just like the flow you caught, like yeah, it's just I think that's like the perfect synthesis of what you were just talking about on there. And then yeah, like you and Frank going back and forth on it, like yeah, it's just
Yeah.
tough shit.
And like fucking side Easter egg. There's a part in Gassed Up to where I'm doing my best Cameron. Because I wanted to tap into like all the wavy niggas that I grew up listening to. And I told L, I was just like, yo, there's gonna be a song that I just start rapping like Cameron on, and you just gotta deal you just gotta deal with it.
Oh, his face right now is kind of precious. Nobody can see it, but
I was like, I'm coming with my best Cameron flow.
that's fire.
Not sorry about it either. I love Killer.
That's gas. Yeah, shout out to Killer Cam, man. He invented pink. Shout out to him. Before I move on, I forgot to mention my boy Brian Brown is on a Phillion's traveling circus too, and shout out to him because he's amazing too.
Yeah, that's
He's
my
somebody
brother.
Yeah, bro.
He always like come on to a track like he just woke up and it's the perfect day.
Yeah.
And like I'm just like, how the fuck do you just get that energy, bro? Like it's just like
yeah. He goes from like spitter to like 60 in like 2 seconds. He's crazy with it. He's crazy.
Yeah, yo, like amazing guy. My man's. I gotta call him.
Yeah, man, me too. But so there's this whole so like I'm hearing a lot about growth here, like especially from you, Namir, and L'Orange and I talked about this a couple times since the project's kind of been going through the rollout. Like, yeah, this feels like a big change for you too, man. Like these are like the first thing I told you when I first heard this album was that this is probably your most modern sounding project to me personally. It feels very like it just feels very tied. It just feels very tied to everything happening right now in a way that your other stuff doesn't, which isn't a bad thing at all. I just think it's a new direction for you that really got to me. And a lot of this shit is very minimal. Like even like to me, like Gassed Up and Point to Point, like I never would have guessed that you produced those, because like it's just like I don't even want to say stripped back, but it's just like I guess stripped back. So like for you, like what kind of and then on top of all of that, like there's no act breaks, there's no vocal interludes. Like this is very new for you. So like what inspired you to not move in those directions the way you did before?
You know, I wanted to make something that was really clean and that was really based in our creative instincts rather than I think what I was calling it was our dumb human brains, you know, because I think Namir and I are both so hyper conceptual when it comes to records that sort of ironically it was like, you know, polarity where I was like, man, you know, wouldn't it be interesting for us to not do that, you know? And so it was like to be able to like strip away some of those like intellectual layers and just have something that was very instinctual, fun and raw. And like, you know, I was really playing with the idea that a lot of what growth means in a creative way is refining your creative instincts. So it's not so much about the polishing and the rewrite and the drafts. It's more about, you know, training your musical brain to make interesting decisions instinctively. And I think those are very interesting to listen to when I hear those. And so, you know, there's a time for polishing something and making it really refined and beautiful, like a Phillion's Traveling Circus, right? Or, you know, I think maybe like, you know, like a Complicated Life of Violence that I'd done, where everything is real beat for beat, narrative based and very conceptual and ironed out. And I think there's also a time for really enjoying yourself and making something that's just like, it's just what you want to make. It's just a vibe you're on. And, you know, I think it's just like, to me, it feels like this is the type of album that I just wanted to sort of just be injected into people's veins directly instead of having to go through all of the circulatory system and be ingested through the stomach and the brain and, you know, synapses. I just wanted this shit to feel really good. And it's much more minimal creatively. You know, after I finished The Ordinary Man, which was like, I don't know, 3 albums ago or something like that, that finished that little thing that I wanted to do. It was this, you know, perspective trilogy that I had been working on. I did that. It did feel like it was the last chapter in that I wanted to sort of create, as, you know, The Mad Rider, The Orchid Days, The Ordinary Man. Those three are those three that, you know, kind of bookend each other. And so I am not interested in repeating myself, you know, and so making something that's sort of clean and modern and interesting, that reflects the type of music that I'm enjoying and the type of music that makes me feel good right now, the type of music that I like, you know. And but I also, you know, more working with Namir more than any other artist I've ever worked with, I have been unable to predict what the song would sound like when I got it back from him. So I would send him a beat thinking it could be A to Z, and he's on like yeah, you know, my approach doesn't even fit within the system. I went, instead of A to Z, I'm like out in like, you know, Quapple or Indigo, you know, just
Yeah.
inventing new shit, you know. And then he's and so like hearing the songs, you know, I mean, it was after like the first like 3 songs, I was like, yo, I'm just gonna like throw a wall here because he's about to find some avenues that I'm not even anticipating. And so for him to bring that sort of style and to elevate these beats in that way, I was like, you know, I want to make something very clean, something very sleek, you know, that's and let his creativity really shine, you know.
Right. And yeah, like, and I think that really bred some like beautiful results out of here, because like I brought up I Can Change before, and like that's something that I don't think I've heard from either of you, because like Namir, I was listening to Scatterbrain a little while ago, and I don't think like there's nothing that I could pick out in either of y'all's discographies that sounds like I Can Change. And that's just such a like, except for like L'Orange, maybe the little holiday EP you put out a little while ago, like it kind of has sort of that same vibe to it, but it's not the same. It's reminiscent of it, but it's just different, and it feels, yeah, it just feels like that.
And that's such a good example of that too, because you know when I was sending him beats, I was sending him. Normally, there's like a 72-hour delay from when I make a beat to when I listen to it, and I'm like, okay, I was really feeling this when I made it, but I've been wrong before. So normally I
Right.
like to sit with it, but with him, I was just like, fuck it. Just as soon as it's off of the MPC, and I'm like calling him the next day, being like, "Hey man, I just want to apologize for those beats I sent you last night. I'm listening to these now, and these are really trash. Like these are just bad, man. I don't know what I was on last night." So, but that was actually one of them where I was like, "Yo, I don't know what this is, man. I mean, it kind of sounds. I don't know what this is." And he was like, "No, you know what? I actually think I fuck with this one." Really, like, you know. And so like listening to it, I'm listening to that now and I'm going, damn, I made a beat, but I wasn't feeling like that before he recorded to it. You know. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's always the ones, or not always, but it's, you know, it can really be the ones you least expect that just like
Mm-hmm.
hit. And yeah, like once it was a full thing. So like you mentioned, so like you mentioned things that you were kind of being inspired by musically, and this is like, I'd like to start with you, L'Orange, but this is really a question for you both. Like because this sounds so modern and it feels so kind of attached to the moment, like was there anything in particular that you like, are there any like specific like examples of like stuff from like the last few years that you've been listening to that kind of put you in this headspace?
Uh, can I be completely real with you on this answer? Because
Please, bro.
yeah, no, there's not. I was
Okay.
inspired by 140 beats per minute. That was
Right.
really the main thing that I was super excited about, because I've made all this music operating on this one thing. And then I started to hit this stride on these Marlowe albums where I was going into that range, doing these halftime kind of, you know, grooves.
Yeah.
And so, no, there's not any music that I've listened to that's like, oh shit, I want to make music like fucking whoever, right? That's not. If I ever had that thought, I would shut myself down immediately. I just,
Mm.
that's, my brain is like so tethered to me being like every that I have has to come from inside of my brain somewhere, you know, or my experience. Like I want to be like, oh shit, I just saw this tree I like. I'm gonna make a song like that. You know, like to be just, I mean, even if it's not true, right? It's a delusion. Everything comes from something else, but I have to convince myself that that's true. So no, there's no new music, but when I started hitting around that 140, that 150, even the like 180, making these sort of double time things, and I started feeling like, oh shit, I'm getting good at this. That was when I was like, yeah, you know, Namir really fucks with that groove, and it makes it very unpredictable. Because what I was learning while I was making, you're messing with those times, with those beats per minute, you know, for people like with those faster, slower times. So, you know, it gives the artist a lot of room to do a lot of different things, or, you know, a lot of approach that. And with an artist like Namir, I was having so much fun making beats on those, because I'm like, man, this is a whole new range for me. I mean, people want to hear go, oh shit, L'Orange is 145 beats per minute. But hopefully there will be something that feels different about this, because it was just so much fun for me to explore this new territory. And I was feeling, confident enough with what I was doing that I wanted to sort of make the whole album to be sort of a tribute to that group.
Right. Yeah, because like you could even you look at a song like Nihilism, and then you look at a song like Corner Store Scandal, and then you look at a song like even like Murphy's Law or like Pipe Dream, like that's the whole expanse of the album, and like none of those songs have the same BPM, none of them have the same vibe even, like or like like in a sense they do, but like I mean like just like they don't feel like carbon copies of each other. Like,
but yeah, this is what you'd be surprised at. Those are probably all within 20 beats per minute of each other. But the reason that they feel so vastly different is because of the variety of Namir's approach to these beats and the variety of like grooves that I can make around there. So, it's like not adhering to this sort of boom bap sort of formula was really, really fun for me. And knowing that I had a safety net under me, because I can do a lot of weird shit. And if Namir rocks with it, then he's going to crush it. And so knowing that I just had so much confidence in his approach to this music that I could go in a lot of different directions. And I would be positive that these would be fresh and new and like interesting, compelling, sort of lyrically and musically.
Right. So yeah, like Namir, like was there anything specifically like you already mentioned the movies, but was there anything like specifically musically that you were on at that point?
Man. I think because like I go through phases to where I just listen to just like a bunch of other shit that isn't rapping. And I think around that time, I was just like, let me see like who's out here doing shit. And I think what was I listening to? I know I was going back and listening to a bunch of Cameron. I listened to one of the greatest mixtapes of all time, DJ Drama and Pharrell, the In My Mind prequel.
Ooh, wow.
I listened to another one of the greatest mixtapes of all time, fucking Cool Kids with Don Cannon, Going Fishing. And I was listening to like Young Jeezy and yeah, just like a bunch of shit like that. And then I was like listening to Anderson .Paak. I was listening to like some like Obliv and like fucking Fly Anakin type shit. I was listening to a bunch of the niggas from Griselda. I peeped Jimmy's project.
The Harry Frog one?
Yeah. That
yeah.
And
yeah, that shit is gas.
Yeah, bro. Fucking killer. And I peeped Cameron's new joint. And I was just listening to all of that shit and then going back and like listening to like Stevie, Roberta Flack, a bunch of people from like the fucking 80s. I was listening to Roger, Zapp, so on and so forth. And I felt like all of those kind of passively influence like what I like a lot of what I did on the project. And of course, like I was listening to a lot of Frank. But like that's like a given. Like I'll go like at least like a couple weeks and then just like jam some Frank and like Solange and Tyler and all of them and then come back. But yeah, I say like all of those passively influence like my writing style on the project, the way I wanted to approach it. And I watched how all of those artists managed to stay relevant throughout the years by like adapting their styles, by like keeping their ear to the ground with what's going on. And I viewed it as like a really, really unique opportunity to bring like a modern flair to these like left field beats with like all these crazy samples and shit in it. And I was like, hell yeah, like I'm gonna rap on this like 3/4 beat with like triplets because that garners triplets, because like this is what everybody's listening to now. This is what like this is what appeals to the younger generation's ears when you hear a nigga go hippity bippity flippity dippity da. And I was just like, bet, yo. I was like, I'm gonna try to like just do some jarring shit and rap like this on just like this fire ass 3/4 sample beat.
Yeah.
And like,
and that's Imaginary
like,
Everything you're talking about. I love that's what I love about Imaginary Everything, the title track. That like that's like on like I'm sorry to cut you off. Like three or four listens in, like that's 3 or 4 listens in. That's one of my favorites. It's or more than 3 or 4 listens in. Like it's really just that's the one that keeps on. Like it really grew on me in a way that I wasn't expecting because I liked it. But like going, like I listened to it again right before I came back on, and or right before we got on the phone, and I was like, "Wow, like this is really like this is the one." Like for both of you.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
It was a bitch to keep those pockets too, man. and
I bet.
And it's funny because like they kept the too many pockets because like I was definitely on like probably my 10th try trying to record that bitch. And like at this point, like, you know, when like you're recording and you're just like, all right, man, fuck it. This is like the 18th try. Like I'm not even like giving myself a count off. Like I'm just like hitting record, like no 4 count in. Like this shit is just gonna start. And like I was drinking water and shit. And I was just like, too many pockets, just out of sheer frustration.
I love the ad libs on this album.
They kept that shit.
It's top tier ad libs.
Yeah,
I love some random ass ad libs on there. That's my favorite shit. It's so human.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me too. No, like it really adds to it, and like it doesn't feel forced, you know. Like it's definitely like some frustration or some like, oh, I tripped on my shoelace or some shit. Like,
oh yeah,
yo, yeah, that's the good.
You dropped your pocket,
right?
Too many pockets.
Too many fucking pockets, yo. Too many pockets.
It's because your voice has so much like pitch to it, just naturally, you know. And so it's like I felt like, you know, deleting one of your ad libs on one of these songs is like fucking painting over a Van Gogh. It's just like, why?
Man,
it's so, you know, it's just so there's so much texture to
it. Wow, we're all doing the fucking Italian chef kiss shit right now. Yes. That was beautiful. You freaked that shit. Congratulations.
We shared a moment.
Yeah. So to kind of bring this whole conversation about the album full circle, just like talking about how you both have grown and just like all the different avenues you've taken and all the new experiments you kind of tried and pulled off here. Like, what's the one thing y'all want people to take away from Imaginary Everything? Like, especially like people who are fans of you before, who like kind of grown established to what you can do. And especially to newer people who are kind of here for the first time.
Well, for me, like Namir said, you know, what I really love about this album is that Namir and I, when I pitched this concept of just being like, yo, let's just fucking have fun. Like, I want to have fun on this record. I've done so many albums where they're so serious and there's so many things on there that I'm trying to touch on that are very deep and personal to me. And this album is very personal to me as well, but it's a different side of me, you know? And so I coming from, you know, if somebody is listening to this album in the context of my discography, I want, you know, to kind of communicate that this isn't different from a record about depression or about, you know, grief or loss or anything. It's the same shit. It's just this is a different side, right? This is a side of me that I haven't felt comfortable communicating, but it's just as important, right? You know, being able to have fun and trust your instincts and be able to, you know, vibe with something and that to be the whole story. I mean, like, that's not the narrative that people want to put in clickbait, but that's important to me, is like, you know, enjoying yourself is just so important. And it's something that hasn't come easily in my life. And it's for me, taking a break from the heavy concept is such a personal triumph for me, because it means that I'm trusting myself creatively and trusting myself personally to be able to love what I do and that be enough.
That's beautiful. Like that's like the essence of life. on some cliche shit. Like enjoying yourself is the essence of life. So like you need that in there. Namir,
enjoying yourself and like enjoying yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like having fun, but also enjoying who you are is like,
on some realize type shit.
realize.
Brother. You see, it is the trichinosis of your mind, brother.
Yeah. Basically, it's like a piano in the dark. Every time I'm talking, every time Andre comes up, I'm just like, yes, like a piano in the dark. I can't not go there.
That's really incredible.
This is just a little aside. Solemn always tells me that the only reason that people like Andre more than Big Boy is because of that line. It all started with that line. That softly, as if I play piano in the dark.
In the dark, yeah.
They're like, oh, that's it. Andre's better than Big Boy for life.
Oh man, that's so interesting. That one line, because like I could hear it in my head as soon as you said it. Just like the way he delivered it. It's
iconic in a real low key way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, that's funny because because I don't want this to go too long, but yeah, people were talking on Twitter about the whole Andre Big Boy thing again. It came up because it always comes up like every month and a half, I guess. And like, they're both great. Like people really try to hoe out Big Boy, and that's not fair because Big Boy is the best. Like they're both the best. Like Outkast is great because they're great together. It's not like Andre and then nobody else, Like you could really tell who's only listening to Hey Ya in their life. Like, stop. But before I get too off track, Namir, what about you? What do you want people to take away from this about you, about your creative process, about your brain, or anything? Or do you just want them to fucking just tap in and go for it?
Fuck, man. I definitely want people to take away, from me personally, that I can rap, nigga. I'm on your ass.
There it is. See?
I can fucking rap. I'm on all you niggas'
I fucking love that answer.
That's the best.
I'm not even gonna lie. That's exactly, not everything is that serious. He can rap his ass off. That's what it is.
Right. That's it. That's all you need. Like,
you
know what? Not everyone can rap their ass off.
True. I mean, real shit, man. It's a lost art. And I feel like people who can rap, we constantly face trying to dumb ourselves down so we can fit into an industry that has been garnered towards things that are more easily consumable to where we don't have to think about it. Like people listen to a rap song more for a vibe than the lyrics. And we kind of have the challenge of figuring out how to master both of those and give people like, like that vibe, that vibed out shit, and give them like a little bit of substance too. And I felt like this was a project that I could really, really let loose on and just get my rapping shit off, just in case like niggas got shit twisted and like thought I was out here for play. It's like, no, I've been doing this since I was a small child. And it's just like, I feel like not a lot of people want to be the best in the industry. And the people that do want to be the best, you see where they're at. And because they tell you in interviews, they tell you in your songs, like the big three are all people who said at some point in their career, I want to be the best. I want to be a legend at this shit. And the industry is filled with a lot of niggas who just want to make money. And yeah, like money is amazing. I'd love to make money. I'd love to be rewarded for the time and effort and diligence that I put into my craft. But also, I want to be the best. I want to be in top 50 conversations and so on and so forth. And in order to do that, it's just like, I'm gonna have to step up and work and really like show people like, yo, I have, not only am I good at rapping, but I have a really diverse style and I can do so much more than just rapping as far as like diversity and flexibility when it comes to like beat selection. It's just like I can make any beat sound flames by just knowing how to approach it, finding like different things that I love about the beat and expounding on those and celebrating those and just making something amazing. So yeah, I want people to definitely know that about me personally. As far as just like the grand scheme of things and like for other people personally, what I want them to take away from the album is yeah, just like my man L said, it's okay to have fun. It's okay to enjoy yourself while enjoying yourself, and never limit yourself or your creativity to just one thing. You could do anything in the fucking world. Like anything that you want to do, you can do it. If you're a rapper, you have to be able to rap over any type of beat. You have to master the old styles, the new styles, and look towards the future of what you want music to sound like in the future. Like you have to like constantly be building on that shit. So I definitely want the listener to take that shit away. I definitely want them to dance. I definitely want them to feel like they are the character, going through the different motions, going through the different phases. Definitely, yeah. I want people to cry to it, laugh to it, dance to it. I want motherfuckers to get married to I Can Change, or I want niggas to send their ex-girlfriends like I Can Change. Like it's just like, hey, look, this song made me think of you. You know what I mean? Like crying with snot bubbles going down your nose and shit. This is like, I need all of that, man. And just to show people like, yeah, you can make your own beats, but it's also fun to collaborate with somebody. Collaboration is fun. It's key. It's integral. It's a part of what pushes our culture forward. And yeah, like we should keep the trend of doing it as much as possible.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, especially on that last part. And yeah, just like having that range. And I got to talk to Jim Jones about that earlier this year. I wrote a whole piece about it, about like just like him growing, and that's exactly what he mentioned. He was just like, you got to be able, like, you just got to have your ear to the streets with everything, you know, and like that's how you get to the point where he's at, where he's, you know, where he's like creating dope shit and he's pushing 50, you know, like not and like especially considering all the people we've lost who didn't even make it to 50 or just made it to 50, like DMX. Like DMX had just turned 50. Like, so like that's, you know, like that's so crucial. And y'all, this was dope. I got nothing else. This was fantastic. Like,
yeah, it was a pleasure, man. I really appreciate you wanting to have us on. You know, that meant a lot. So, you know.
Of course, like like L'Orange, like you've been such a supporter of this entire project since before it even came out. So it was a no-brainer, and you sent me the project, and I've been a fan of Namir already. So like, just like Namir, getting to talk to you and like really getting to know y'all, like we needed to make this happen. So absolutely.
Two of my favorite people I've met doing this music stuff, man. So you know, it's I can't think of a better situation to talk to y'all, man.
Much love.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I'll blast. We're friends now.
Hell yeah.
Forever.
Nah. Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far. And shout out to all the black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.